Ways humanism and secularism were portrayed during the Renaissance by myself, Julie Rubio. The development of the Renaissance. The Renaissance can be organized in various ways. However, for this project, I decided to split this time period into two major bodies: pre-Renaissance, along with the early/Italian Renaissance, and Northern Renaissance. Let's start with the Italian and before the Renaissance. One way that the Renaissance was greatly guided to begin was the fall of the Church. The decrease in faith of the Church is due to the plague. When the Black Death struck Europe, the clergy was highly affected, killing off thousands of members. The lack of control that the Church had upon this unstoppable disease made many citizens ponder over if the Church truly had the powers that they were known to obtain. This realization persuaded many Catholics to lose faith in the Church and its superiority. These series of events provided room for people to question their own beliefs. According to J. Williams, writer of The World of Titian, all this brainstorming most likely sprung new, notable ideas and thoughts for pieces of art or writing, which guided the Renaissance. These fresh concepts were expressed through art. The Renaissance art differs very much from medieval art. Artworks of the Renaissance portrayed a much more modern style of art in general. This new period of time brought many contemporary techniques for paintings, such as shading, foreground/background, different color schemes, original sense of realism, and linear perspective. All these forms of painting were completely advanced compared to the medieval style of painting works. Now to discuss the Northern Renaissance. This period was a form of the Renaissance that took place outside of Italy, specifically north of the Alps in Europe. Most of the artwork was influenced by the Italian Renaissance. It also included a large variety of paintings that clearly showed humanism and secularism ideas. The artwork of the Northern Renaissance, compared to beginning and Italian portion of the Renaissance, contains many similarities. This fraction brought artists such as Peter Bruegel and his countless paintings, such as The Peasant Wedding, Hunters in the Snow, and many more, along with Hans Holbein, who created The Ambassadors, or Albert Dürer, who successfully painted self-portrait at the age of 28. This list of artists could go on for ages. Humanism. The enthusiastic interest in classical learning and the ability of having a well-rounded education that developed around the time of the Renaissance. Some ways to display humanism in artworks is through any representation of a form of education, classic Roman and Greek architecture, and mythology. The painting that is pictured here is Bacchus and Ariadne by Titian. It was painted by Titian in the year 1523. This piece is currently located in the National Art Gallery in London. According to Dr. Harris and Dr. Zucker, this painting is depicting a scene where a god, Bacchus, falls instantly in love with a woman, Ariadne, who is genuinely afraid of him. This woman has been stranded on the Greek island of Naxos, which is shown in the painting. Presented in the center of the painting is Bacchus, Greek god of wine. He is portrayed leaping from his chariot, drawn by two cheetahs towards Ariadne. As Austin Klein discusses, Greek mythology is a major part of humanism. Greek gods and figures, such as Bacchus and Ariadne, are largely incorporated in this painting, along with snakes and other creatures that play a role in Greek mythology. This next piece of art is called Triumph of Virtues and is created by Andrea Mantegna in the year 1502. Triumph of Virtues is currently located at the Musée du Louvre in Paris. This painting is showing many mythical creatures, all enclosed in a fenced-in area. In this scene, Idleness is running away from Minerva. Both Idleness and Minerva are rescuing Diana, goddess of chastity, from being raped by a centaur. In the clouds is shown the three theological virtues: faith, hope, and charity. Classical architecture is one way humanism is represented. In this painting, there are visible arches in the fence that surrounds everyone a part of the scene. Humanism also involves all Greek mythology. Shown here are various mythological creatures, such as Cupid, the goddess Diana, centaurs, and other unmentioned Greek gods. The Triumph of Galatea is a painting from 1514 that was designed by Raphael. As Dr. Zucker and Dr. Harris had stated, Raphael painted this piece for the Sienese banker and Agostino Chigi for it to be displayed in the Roman villa in the Trastevere district. Pictured in the center of the painting is a sea nymph, Galatea. She's being pursued by Polyphemus, a frightening giant. Galatea is shown upon a vast seashell that is being dragged by dolphins in the middle of the water. Sea nymphs and other sea creatures that are depicted in this painting play a very large role in Greek/Roman mythology. These creatures include centaurs, sea nymphs, cupids, and mermaid-like figures. The Ambassadors, by Hans Holbein the Younger, is known as The Ambassadors. The painting was completely finished in the year 1533. The focal points are two middle-aged, wealthy, and educated men. In a documentary, Dr. Zucker and Dr. Harris analyze and mention that on the left is Jean de Dintiville, French ambassador in England in the year 1533, and to the right stands Georges de Selve, Bishop of Laver. The work of art is portraying these men in front of various books and instruments. The objects resting upon the upper shelf include a globe, a sundial, and a couple of instruments from the Renaissance time. The lower shelf contains a lute, a case of flutes, a hymn book, a book of arithmetic, and a terrestrial globe. On the ground is a distorted image of a skull, which is a symbol of mortality. Most to all of the objects that are portrayed in this painting show all different aspects of education. The representation of a well-rounded education is a form of humanism. These forms of learning vary, such as music, shown by the lute and flutes, the arithmetic book that is incorporated with math, and geography, which is represented by globes and the sundial. Secularism. The second of the three categories of paintings used. Secularism is a belief held by people during the Renaissance. This idea is the understanding that humans should fulfill their lives focusing on their time on earth, rather than constantly worrying over their afterlife. Artworks that contain non-religious figures and scenes along with portrayal of everyday, ordinary life activities is an example of secularism. The Peasant Wedding by Peter Bruegel was painted in 1567 and placed in the Kunsthistorisches Museum in Vienna, Austria. Dr. Zucker and Dr. Harris from Khan Academy, which are reliable sources, address that the scene taking place in the painting is set in a barn-like room that is crammed with peasants. Seated at a long table is the wedding party, who are enjoying a simple meal. Depicted, settled quietly in front of the green tarp and underneath a paper crown is the bride. This is showing the accuracy of Peter Bruegel's paintings. This tradition was very common, along with the way she is gracefully sitting, with her hands properly together, while not eating nor drinking. Also shown are two people lugging a wooden tray of bowls with what seems to be pudding or porridge inside and handing bowls out to everyone. This painting is showing people going about their everyday life and enjoying themselves, which is a perfect way to describe secularism. It also shows two men playing the bagpipes to entertain the party. Everyone is portrayed eating, socializing, and drinking, most likely beer. Living in the moment and enjoying life is an example of secularism, and in the peasant wedding, it shows a very joyous scene of a wedding. Everyone is happily eating, talking, and drinking, along with being entertained by the music, and have come together to celebrate a ceremony. Not having to do with religion is also a way to describe secularism. This particular nuptial is not in a church like a typical wedding. No priests or any religious figures are being shown. Within the year of 1470, Paolo Uccello constructed The Hunt in the Forest. Now, this painting is located in the Ashmolean Museum of Art and Archaeology. Depicted is a large group of men, along with dogs and horses, hunting at moonlight. The showing of daily activities that bring one pleasure is a representation of secularism. Hunting is a very common hobby that many people find enjoyable. Peter Bruegel made the artwork The Harvesters in the year 1565. Portrayal of the producing and consuming of goods, along with working men that are reaping wheat, are both pictured here. In the front, there are noticeably dressed people eating lunch or a midday meal, possibly porridge and bread. As several critics have pointed out, this group of people are shown eating the same pears that others to the right of them are collecting in the fields. This painting does not show any representation of religion. Everyday life is shown by looking throughout the painting. People are scattered everywhere, showing common tasks. In the back are people going about their daily lives as harvesters, harvesting wheat, carrying water, and resting. There is also a band of peasants enjoying a lunch of some sort, using the crops that were just harvested. Secularism and humanism. This next painting, The Lute Player, was made in 1596 by the famous Caravaggio. Now, let's take a closer look at the painting. Prime aspect of the painting is a young boy dressed in all white who is holding a lute. According to various scholars writing at the State Hermitage Museum, say that Caravaggio was intrigued by the surrounding world and its individual features. This interest he obtained is the inspiration for some of the mere details in this specific painting, such as the expression shown on the boy's face, the small damaged pear, the crack in the lute, and the crumpled pages of sheet music. Sitting in front of the boy, are various pages of music. This sheet music is actually the song You Know That I Love You by Jekyll Arcadell. This painting is portraying both humanism and secularism roots. Humanism is shown by the boy because he is learning a specific song on his lute, which is a form of showing a well-rounded education, or at least the music fraction of education. However, secularism is shown through because music is an art of enjoying life in the now, along with entertainment, which is what playing an instrument shows. Secularism can be shown through the simplicity of everyday objects as well, such as fruits and various flowers, which are both depicted to the left of the focal point. The Parnassus. This piece of art was painted entirely by Raphael in 1511 and displayed in Vatican City, Holy See. The focal point of this painting is Apollo. He is seated under a tree, playing a lyra di braccio. This is a bowstring instrument from the Renaissance time. He is surrounded by the nine muses, which are Greek goddesses, and different very popular poets. Some include Homer, Alcaeus, and Sappho, along with many more. Secularism can be expressed by any form of entertainment. Entertainment is shown here by the five figures playing various instruments, such as the lira di braccio, for all the people to hear and enjoy. The way humanism is incorporated in the Parnassus is that here, many of the figures depicted in the painting are famous poets. To, to be a poet, you must have some type of further education. The nine muses can also be spotted. These figures are a giant part of Greek mythology, along with the mountain of Parnassus, which is where this painting takes place. The mountain of Parnassus is where the nine muses typically meet. All Greek mythology is considered humanism. The Tempest, constructed by Giorgione in 1508. It is located currently at the Accademia in Venice, Italy. Dr. Zucker, along with Dr. Harris, examined this painting and discussed how in this painting there is a woman. She is almost gazing out towards us, or whoever is standing in front of this painting. The woman is only partially clothed and is breastfeeding a baby. Some historians characterize this woman as a gypsy. Across this river-like gap is a young male figure holding a staff, looking over at the woman. It is known by critics that he could possibly be a soldier or a shepherd. In the sky, a large bolt of lightning is struck. In The Tempest, humanism is expressed through the Greek/Roman architecture shown. There are arches seen painted on a building wall, along with under a bridge. Also, way in the back is a vague depiction of a dome. Breastfeeding is also a very common task that women do in order to feed their babies, which is performed in this work of art. All common activities or tasks can be a representation of secularism. The end. I hope you enjoyed learning various ways on how secularism and humanism were portrayed during the Renaissance.